Hi, what's up, everybody? You are watching On the Town with Tanya, and I'm your host. Thank you for joining us again this week. We really appreciate you. Do us a favor and share because somebody out there needs a good lesson or to be enlightened. So share the button. Thank you very much. We don't care about numbers, we care about people. So today's guest is a poet, podcaster, author of two books, and is a certified consciousness advisor. She's a journalist for over 20 years and a practitioner and teacher of transcendental medica- meditation for over 30 years. She is the bi-monthly host of excuse me, Essence of Life podcast and Living Wisdom, Barbara Briggs, and which is on YouTube, excuse me. She is here to share her two books, Pilgrimage on the Path of Love and Guide to Health and Seven Simple Health Hacks. Please welcome Barbara Briggs. Hi.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's been a
Thank
pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're all the way from India, right? Where are you at? I can't say it correctly. Denhara? How do you
I
say
live
it?
in Dehradun. I live in Dehradun in the foothills of the Himalayas.
Oh wow, that it must be amazing. Oh my gosh, the air. I'm jealous. Just the air alone, right? Oh,
No, actually, Dehradun is quite a busy city. It's
it is.
not like being in the mountains. It's in the
Okay.
foothills, and it's
Oh,
the
the foot.
capital of this state. So it's quite busy. It's yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm
It's not
thinking of
as
Himalayas. I think of high up in the mountains,
yeah,
fresh
yeah,
air.
of course. Yeah.
That's stereotypical. I shouldn't be stereotyping, right? But thank you so much for taking the time because I know our time schedules are way off, which is why we're doing it at this time. But I appreciate you so much. Anytime we can get wisdom, knowledge, inspiration, motivation, we're all in. So thank you. So what inspired you to write Guide to Good Health?
Well, I'm a practitioner of Ayurveda for many, many years. That's a system of health, a
Mhm,
science of health that
mhm.
is dedicated to longevity and the prevention of disease. So it's a natural system of healthcare which is thousands of years old. And the beautiful thing about Ayurveda is that it has many side benefits and very few negative effects from using it because it's based on herbs and
Mm,
on very natural ways of living, a natural diet and a lifestyle which is more in harmony with natural law. So
uh,
I got interested in this form of medicine many years ago,
mhm,
and I've been using Ayurveda for many, many years, and it's really an incredible system of health
mm,
because it's just an understanding of one's body type and what foods to eat
mhm,
according to the physiology that one exemplifies, and also what to eat in which season, and also what to eat at different ages, at different ages. So it's based on our understanding of natural law, and really promotes healthy digestion, because really the source of most diseases is undigested food,
in
and
the gut.
eating at the wrong time, or eating irregular meals, or
Mhm,
combining the wrong types of food together, or
mhm,
eating when we're upset or emotionally disturbed, because
mm,
all these types of things influence our digestion, and
mm,
digestion is extremely important to maintain good health. So I wanted to just write this small book, Seven Simple Health Hacks,
mhm,
Guide to Good Health, just
mhm.
so that people would understand the principles, the simple principles of how they can safeguard their health and
Okay.
prevent disease. So
Okay.
that's what inspired me to write it, and I'm really happy that it's out there and anyone can benefit from it. And it's all self help. It's
Right.
all simple ways one can help oneself to
Mhm.
maintain good diet and good digestion. And it's a lifestyle understanding of
Mhm.
small things that one can do to prevent diseases.
Right. Well, give us like one example. And I know you said mixing foods is one. I think even the Bible talks about that. Like you're not supposed to
I,
mix.
I, I don't know if it does, but
Right. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I can give you some simple things. Like one thing that's very simple and that everyone can do is to make lunch the main meal of the day. So it's very important to eat when the sun is high in the sky because the sun influences our digestion and influences the power of digestion. So between 11 and 2 is the best time to eat the heaviest meal of the day. One
Okay.
should always eat the heavy meal at midday, and one should eat a very light meal at dinner. And one shouldn't eat after 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock because
Mm,
the digestive power is very minimal at night because all the channels begin to close at night.
mm,
And if we eat a heavy meal before bed, it
mhm.
won't get digested. And then we'll create toxins in the system.
Ah,
And it'll also interfere with the quality of our sleep. So it's
mm,
very important to have the heaviest meal during the day.
ah,
And so that's one simple
okay.
um, principle that we could follow, and that would prevent a lot of digestive problems if we have a
Ah,
light breakfast, a heavy lunch, and a light dinner.
good to
That's something that's quite important, and anyone can do that.
Yes, I started intermittent fasting, so I pretty much that's about when I don't eat till probably when the sun's up. That's high. It's probably like 12 or 2 between there, somewhere in that time, because you know the weather
That's the
here.
best time to eat,
Yeah,
between 12 and 2. Yeah,
hmm
and the
and then
heaviest meal of the day.
yeah, I usually
Yeah,
try to
that.
eat only one meal a day, and if I do want something
Oh,
before the sun goes down, I try to eat fruit.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I try. It's
So
a challenge.
yeah, so we can just eat more lightly at dinner. Actually, we shouldn't eat very juicy fruit at night, but we can eat drier fruits at night.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, as you feel, one should listen to one's body,
Mhm.
and one should avoid overeating or irregular meal times,
Okay.
or eating at the wrong time, which I already mentioned. But one should avoid overeating. One should know when one should stop eating, so that one doesn't just keep going when the body's already satiated with the food. And
Right.
also, one shouldn't drink a lot of water with the meal because that will dilute the digestive fluids. So
Ah,
those types of things are very important to
wow.
remember, which will prevent diseases if you just take a little bit of extra care
Mhm.
of the food that you eat. Don't combine milk with any salty or sour foods. Be very
Uh,
careful not to combine milk with fish or with any salty or sour foods because those two ingredients don't go together. Milk should only be taken with sweet foods like bread or cereal
mm,
or something like that, but not with sour or salty foods or pungent foods.
wow. Now, what about that's the same methodology they use for their skin products as well? Don't they have a skin product line as well?
Ayurveda?
Yes. I
Yes,
know they
of
do
course.
here.
They
There's a
have
clinic.
all the different products. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
clinic I
But if
use. I
you
love this stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but if you take milk with sour or salty foods, that could affect the quality of your skin. It won't be very healthy for you to take milk with anything other than sweet foods because
I
the
don't
two
do
tastes
dairy.
don't go together.
Yeah, I don't do
Excuse
dairy.
me?
I don't do dairy at
Oh, you
all.
don't take dairy. You don't take dairy. I see.
No cheese, none of that.
Okay.
No, that's for me
Okay.
personal, my personal thing. But and I could be wrong. I just thought it always caused more mucus, so that's why I don't indulge in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
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 Um, I mean, if it's like a birthday, maybe once a year or something like that, but I on a daily basis, I can't. I don't even eat it. What who do you think can benefit most from this book?
What?
Especially since you're over there on a different side, but in the West. Do you think a lot of people can benefit from these ideas because there's a lot of health problems here, a lot of health issues.
Yes, but a lot of the health issues can be solved if people just have more knowledge. They have more knowledge of their body type. There are
Mhm.
three basic body types in Ayurveda, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and they're very easy to differentiate. And if
Okay.
people know their body type, they know what food to eat, which foods promote health, and which foods are more create some imbalances in the system, because if someone is pitta, that mostly has to do with the digestion and metabolism in the body. And those types of people shouldn't eat very hot, spicy food, because it aggravates their particular body type, because they naturally have a hot body type. Some people have hot body types, and some people have cooler body types. So someone with a very hot body type shouldn't eat extremely hot, spicy, pungent food, because it'll aggravate their physiology. So when people understand their body types, it's very simple to understand one's body type in Ayurveda. And if one has knowledge of which foods are best, which food will be more nourishing to the body, and also in which seasons. When it's a very hot season or a dry season, there are different foods that one should favor in a dry season or a rainy season or a very cold season. There are different foods which are more nourishing depending on our knowledge of what to eat in that season. So Ayurveda gives very clear knowledge about how to remain in harmony with natural law, because natural law is guiding the whole universe, and nature is providing that intelligence, which is really the expression of everything we see in the universe, is an expression of nature's intelligence. And if we want to become in harmony with that intelligence, we have to gain more intelligence about how our particular body functions, and then we can listen to our body. Another important thing is not to eat while looking at television or while listening to music. We should have our full attention on the meal, and not divide our attention into the list, talking on our mobile, listening to the news, listening to music. We shouldn't eat when we're upset. If we're upset about something, we should never eat at that time, because it'll create toxins in the body. And we should also understand that whatever we take in, the body becomes more, what we see, we become. So if we take in a lot of negative news, that influences the whole physiology, because every thought influences every cell in the body. So we want to be careful, because we're nourishing the body not only with food, but also through our five senses, through our sense organs. That's also digestion. That's part of the digestive system, what we digest during the day. So we want to be more cautious about what we take in. We should take in those qualities which are nourishing, uplifting, elevating, the quality of love, the quality of peace, the quality of harmony. And that's why, as a teacher of transcendental meditation, I always encourage people to learn to meditate, because that field of pure consciousness, the deepest level of our own being, that's the field of pure love. That's the field of infinite Satchitananda, the eternal consciousness of bliss. And if we want to experience that bliss that isn't dependent on outside circumstances, we have to go within. And that's the benefit of meditation. We go within, we find the happiness within. The source of happiness is actually deep within ourselves.
Yes, I believe that's why it's important to find your spiritual journey first. And that doesn't necessarily mean religious, it means spiritual. A lot of people mix the two and think it's the same thing. So I'm not saying going to a church necessarily, but I am saying find your inner being, that
Yes, exactly.
yeah, I'm
Exactly.
trying to term it so that some people can really break it down very simple. It's so important just to find out who you are and
Exactly.
what is making you
Exactly.
tick, because once you find that, then all the other things like eating correctly, knowing about food, then you become curious to know more, but you're not
Exactly.
curious if you don't know who you are. You're just like,
Well,
okay,
that's how I started. Yes,
yeah.
exactly. That's how I started. I first started meditating when I went to London. I was in London many years ago as a dancing student, and I learned to meditate. My music teacher actually told me about transcendental meditation. And after I learned to meditate, that's when I started to learn all the other modalities which are connected to this understanding of oneself, the understanding of how to transcend and experience pure consciousness. Then I learned more about Ayurveda. I learned more about, um, you know, classical Indian music. I learned more about the system of astrology called Jyotish, the Indian system of astrology. I learned about many different things,
Mm.
pulse diagnosis. I learned all these things after I started meditating because I was going more and more deeply into the knowledge, how to gain more self-knowledge. And all these different modalities are aspect of self-knowledge. And when we
Yes.
have more and more knowledge, knowledge has is the greatest purifier in the world.
It
And
is.
when we have knowledge, knowledge is the basis of activity. Activity is the basis of achievement, and achievement is the basis of fulfillment. So knowledge is very important in life. The more knowledge we have, the more control we have over our future, and the more we can determine our destiny. So
Absolutely.
it's very important,
Well,
the knowledge of the self.
absolutely. And speaking of which, your book, Pilgrimage on the Path of Love, tell us about that because I just love the fact that, and I believe based on your life, right? Your pilgrimage to the Himalayas and then to India, and then what you discover is amazing. It reminds me, I don't know why I think of The Alchemist, or I think of these, there's another book written by another author where he went on a journey. It wasn't to India, but the way you tell this reminds me of that, and it's all about awakening yourself. Once
Exactly,
you
exactly.
travel all over looking for all these things and all these things, and all the time it was right there in you, and you didn't even know it.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. So that's actually what happened to me. I did go to India, and I did, um, my destiny took me to the Himalayas and even took me to Ladakh, which was the most incredible journey of my life,
Ooh,
overland to Ladakh, from the Himalayas into Ladakh. So I actually worshipped at the highest temple in the world on the way to Nubra Valley, which had just been opened to foreigners, which is high in the Himalayas. And believe it or not, in that temple, in the highest point of the world, I walked into that temple and it had pictures of every single religion in the world. Um, it depicted on the walls of the temple. So it
wow.
was a temple for every religion in the world. It was a small temple. It had pictures of every great saint in the world, every great founder of a religion. And it was just so beautiful because this is what my book is all about, because my book has 12 different women characters. It has about 13 different nationalities.
Mm,
And what you gain from the book is an understanding. It makes one aware of the interrelatedness of all sentient beings, how
mm,
everyone is interrelated. Everyone is like different facets of a diamond, and everyone has something to share. Their
mm,
wisdom, the wisdom I gained from all these different people I met in the Himalayas, shows that the whole world is composed of a diverse range of people, but everybody has something to share. You
right.
can learn from everyone. Everyone can be your teacher in some sense, because if you meet them, you're meant to learn something from them through that interaction. So
Wow.
it really it was a beautiful journey. And Pilgrimage on the Path of Love, it's the story of a woman who travels alone to India, and
Right.
after many challenges and soul stirring experiences, which were absolutely true, she emerges triumphant with a much deeper understanding of her purpose in life and the meaning of true love.
Wow.
So it
Wow.
was it was
That's amazing. I mean, I can't wait to
yeah.
get my copy because I only was able to read parts of it, but I just was like, just the fact that you're a woman traveling alone in these, I call them spiritual inclined places. I can imagine what you encountered, and the
Just 1 minute. Yes.
the awakening that would happen. So, guys, if you get a chance, please go check out Barbara's website. I put it on the YouTube. I put all the links. Pilgrimage on the Path of Love. Buy the book. It's about a journey because we all have a journey, right? No matter who we are, there is always a journey. Uh, and I believe traveling is one way to really find yourself. So if you can, not everybody can do it because it can be tedious and costly. But if you can, do it. So back with us. So how did so on your travels, um, this had a really big impact on your spirituality when you did your travel
Yes,
to the.
being in India has a very great impact on my life as a whole, because India is rooted in a culture which is the most ancient culture in the world, the Vedic culture. Veda actually means knowledge, and the whole soil of India is filled with that aspiration for enlightenment. There have been so many people in India who have actually devoted their entire life to the quest for enlightenment, for the
Mm,
quest for union with God, for the quest for developing higher states of consciousness. Because
mhm,
rooted in the Vedic tradition of knowledge is the understanding of what consciousness is, and
mm,
that the human being has the birthright to develop to very high states of consciousness, a full expanded level of awareness. And we
mm,
have so much within us that hasn't been fully tapped, and the conscious capacity of the mind is vast if we
mm,
could only find a way to unfold it.
mm,
So, this tradition in India, many people have been devoted to unfolding the full value of consciousness and
mm,
developing their birthright to the level of full enlightenment. And that
mhm,
means one is totally in harmony with the will of God, and everything one does is completely right, and it elevates the whole, it elevates the whole community, the whole society, the whole world, just
mhm,
by being present on that level of
mm,
consciousness.
mm.
So it's very important that one goes in this higher direction.
That's amazing. I didn't even know that. I mean, I thought, I mean, when I think of spiritual awakening, I do think of India, but I didn't know they were one of the first. I thought Africa was, in my head, just in my head. But that's from my grandmother's story, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh, but that's amazing. Now, your experience seeing the many different cultures, and how you were able to mesh them together or share it with the reader, your experience of the various cultures, and maybe even I don't know about tribes, but there's different cultures, there's different mannerisms, there's different,
yeah,
um
yeah. Different
there's so
beliefs, different value systems. Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah, I encountered all of that in my
Mm,
travels. I encountered the Tibetan tradition just by sheer accident. I mean, it was
yeah.
something that just came into my life, and I met people who were really embedded in the Tibetan way of life, and that's really the life in Ladakh as well. People
Mm,
live a very simple life, a very hard life because of the climate. It's so extremely cold there. It's only open for a few months of the year because you can't go up there because the roads are, it's too dangerous, and it's too cold. You wouldn't be able to survive in that climate unless you were grew up in that climate. So
wow.
it's really a different culture completely, and it opens your awareness.
Mhm.
Actually, the most wonderful meditation I ever had in my life, I had in Ladakh, above the tree line on such a high altitude, because there the air was so pure and there was no pollution at all in the
Wow.
air at that level in the Himalayas.
Wow.
So
Mm,
it's it you know what when one lives in a very crowded city, or it's very noisy, it's very polluted, of course that would affect the quality of one's meditations. And when one lives in a pure environment, a
mm.
more silent place, a more sattvic, a spiritual place, of course the meditation will be much deeper. And
Yes.
that's the value of the Himalayas, a place like that, because it has a
Mm,
tradition of people who have been devoted to the spiritual path. And there are many spiritual masters and gurus who live in those heights because
wow.
they've been able to experience that value of divinity, on a pure level. So,
That
yeah,
must be amazing to see all those people living in the fifth dimension, basically. It's pure peace, pure peace. I used to live in a small town. I live in a small town, and sometimes people tease me about it, but then I'm like, during the pandemic was the best environment to be in because I can go to the mountain, I can go to the lakes, I can go talk to the cow down on the farm, that kind of stuff. People say, "Oh, that's corny," but I'm like, "No, that's the real living. That's life.
that's
That's
real.
real. Yeah, that's the real stuff. All this other stuff, this glamour and cars and transportation, and that's just gonna kill us quicker and make us more stressed and fog our brains and make us have anxiety. The other way, while you may not be able to say, "Oh, well, yes, I have car coming for me." Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're not gonna be able to do that. No cell phones, all that stuff. But guess what? You get to the real living as a real human being and the real experience of why you're here, not all the fluff. So I love that. One day I want to go to the Himalayas. I used to want to be I didn't know a girl. I don't think a girl can be a monk, right? Can't be a monk. So I wanted to be a nun, and then I just, after living with someone, I was like, I changed my mind. I still love them, they're my favorite, but I don't think I have the level of commitment that they
Yeah, you
do it.
don't have. It's not necessary to be a nun or a monk. It's really what your natural inner calling, leads you to.
Right.
But to live a simple life is very
Mm,
enjoyable. That's why I live in India. Actually, I live a very simple life.
yeah.
I don't have to worry about a 9 to 5 job because the living expenses here are so insignificant. So
Right.
it's so much less than the West. So
Ah,
because of that, I can devote more time to the things that I really cherish, like
right.
writing, meditation, doing
Right.
my podcast, sharing knowledge, and things like that.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. And that's where we could all, I wish we could all get to. I just put up a post today. Find your true calling and yourself, because once you find that, then you find a way to get around everything else, you know? So if it means living somewhere that does have less stress and less um, high prices, why not go there? What's wrong with that? Just, you can still do what you love and what you're called to
Yeah.
do. That's
Yeah.
the catch. That's the hard part for humans who are not spiritually together yet to find out. That's the core of like, can I get this right? Um, Good luck, because if you don't get it right, you got to come back and do it again. that's that's my theory. Um, so your pilgrimage impacted your understanding of love and personal growth, and you share it through your podcast. So tell us about your podcast that you have in your YouTube show.
Well, my podcast is called Essence of Life,
Mhm.
and I have all different subjects on my podcast. I have subjects about the art of manifestation, subjects about the art of perception, subjects about pure love, about saying yes to life. I
Mhm.
have subjects about the benefit of meditation. I
Mhm.
have all different types of subjects on my podcast, and everyone is welcome to join it. It's just called Essence of Life. It's on buzzsprout.com,
Okay.
and it's on all the apps. It's on all the podcast apps. You
Okay.
can get it on Spotify. You can get it on Apple. You can get it on Stitcher, on any of those apps. And you're
Oh.
welcome to come and listen anytime you want. I also have some of my episodes are uploaded on my website. My
Hmm.
website is barbaraannbriggs.com.
Wait a minute.
And you can just go to barbaraannbriggs.com and you can listen to some of my podcasts on my website itself. Yeah. And
BarbaraBriggs.com.
yeah, excuse me, barbaraannbriggs.com.
Oh, Barbara.
Barbara Ann, including my middle name,
Okay.
my full name, Barbara Ann Briggs.
Wait a minute. Let me take
Dot
this.
com.
I'm going to put it in here. BarbaraAnnBriggs.com. Uh, Barbara. My ADHD is kicking in. Barbara A. Briggs.
ANN.
Barbara
Barbara
Ann
Ann.
Briggs.
ANN.
Dot com.
Com.
Hopefully I get this right. Let's see. Tell me if that's right.
Yes, that's right. BarbaraAnnBriggs.com. That's my website. So if
Okay.
anyone wants to go to it, they can look at my some of my videos. They can look at some of my podcast, listen to some of my podcasts, and please subscribe to the web to my
So,
website, because then you'll know when my new book is coming out. I've just finished my next book, The
oh,
Secret of Creative Abundance:
ooh,
Alignment with Our Spiritual Nature. And I'll let you know everything that's coming out. Just subscribe to the website. You can download the free book on
mm,
Blossoms of Love, and become part of my family so that
yes.
we can stay in touch.
Mm, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And definitely let us know when it comes back out. We'd love to have you back again. Can you tell
Okay.
us about
And
on your pilgrimage and your journey? Was there anything that stood out specific that could help our viewers? A lesson that you learned, good or bad?
Well, there was one thing that I did mention in the book, the difference between spiritual wealth and material wealth.
Mm,
Because on the journey, there was an experience. There was a man who was very poor. He hardly had anything. It was raining, and he was in the street. And
mhm,
some people passed on a motorbike, and they
mhm,
offered him 300 rupees. But the
mhm,
old man, even though he was dressed in a very shabby kind of raggedy clothes. He
mhm,
only would only take 100 rupees. He wouldn't take the full amount. And then that couple, they were actually Muslims, and they came and they told me the story. They said, why didn't the man take the full amount? I said, there's a difference between spiritual wealth and material wealth. The
Mm,
man was probably inwardly, he knew that God would take care of him, and he didn't want to take more than he needed. He
mm,
just took whatever he needed at that time, because maybe he was a spiritual person, and
mm,
he didn't feel he wanted more than he actually needed to take care of him at that time. So he
mm,
gave back the 200 rupees. He just took 100 rupees.
mhm,
And there's a difference between material wealth and spiritual wealth.
mm,
Material wealth is where you always try to get more and more money for yourself. You try to accumulate more cars, more houses, more this and that possessions, where you feel that you need more and more and more, even when you don't actually need it.
mm,
And spiritual wealth is when you rely on the goodness of God, and you
mm,
realize that inside you're taken care of by the divine providence, and you
mm,
just take what you need, but you always have enough in any circumstance. And if
mm,
everyone thought like that, there would never be poverty in the world, because everyone would just take what they needed. They wouldn't take more than they actually needed. So there would be enough for everyone to
mm,
share the resources in the world. So I felt that that was a beautiful thing that man did. He just wouldn't take the 300, even though he might have needed. He only took 100. He said, I can't take any more than that. And then
mm.
he went on his way. And I thought that was quite a powerful statement
That
about his belief in God.
mm, that is powerful, and it says a lot about him, and not being of greed. Um, I do wish more people were like that. We'd have a better world. Maybe one day we'll get there. So, what do you think readers? What advice do you have for readers that are struggling to find their meaning in life and find their spiritual guide?
Well, I think it's a good idea to consider learning to meditate, because you do go within. You transcend the surface boundaries of the mind. You
Mm,
transcend the active um, level of the mind, which always is so scattered and has so many thoughts, more thoughts than we know what to do with. The mind begins to settle down.
right.
Oh,
Yeah. Mhm.
hold on for 1 second.
That's okay. So one advice.
My computer was going off. So
Oh,
anyway, I forgot to turn the battery on. So
that's okay.
anyway, yeah, it's a good idea to take an inward dive, because meditation is a very simple process. Transcendental meditation is very simple, natural, and effortless. Even children of 10 years old can do it,
Yeah, tell
and
us
it
about
really
that.
helps you. Yes, I've taught children who are just 10 years old. So the thing, even children younger than that, there's another form of meditation for children who are less than 10. So the
Mhm,
thing is, it develops your creativity, it develops your intelligence, it develops your inner self-actualization, so that you
mhm,
become more of what you're really meant to be. And what
mhm,
I felt when I started was that my desires in life were becoming fulfilled much more rapidly after
mhm.
I started to meditate, and my
Yes.
mind was functioning more. I took it because as a dancer, I wanted faster reaction time, more mind body coordination, etc. But it
Right.
gave me much more than that. And a few
Mm,
years later, I became a teacher of meditation. So it's a very valuable practice. It's simple, it's natural, and it helps you to go within and find your inner source of happiness. Once you
mm,
know that your happiness lies within, then you can begin to supercharge all the different aspects of your life. So I
absolutely.
do feel that it's very important to have a technique which allows you to know yourself. And
Yes.
meditation does. It allows you
Yes.
to know that inner silence, which is the source of all the activity is based on inner silence. And once you know
Yes.
the inner silence, or everything else begins to flower and blossom and
Mm,
become fuller in one's life, in our life as a whole. It's
mm,
water the root to enjoy the fruit. We water the
absolutely.
root of life to
Mm,
enjoy the fruit of life.
mm. I love that. I'm a Quaker, so I for like 30 something years, and I enjoy sitting in silence. Like put me in the middle of the woods somewhere, I'm happy. And they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm listening to what the universe has to tell me." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Just do it. That's all I can tell you. I can't guide you on this one. This is
Yeah,
run this out
exactly.
like I did." I was walking by a meeting house one day in the winter, and my friend said, "Look at that old Hansel and Gretel looking brick establishment. it's a Quaker meeting. And I was like, oh, I knew about it from my ex-father-in-law, but I knew about Quaker meetings, but I never actually went into one except for Brooklyn, I think was the only one I went in. And that was more of a, not hip, but a more progressive one, I guess you want to say, because it's in the middle of Brooklyn, right? Downtown Brooklyn. But this one's in the woods. So we were traveling, just jogging or something we were doing in the winter, and it was cold. And he said, let's just go in. And we went in, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is heaven. They just sit by the fireplace in total silence, and you look out and see the trees. It's like the oldest meeting house around. It was built in the 1800s, but it was fabulous. And I haven't left since. So Croton Valley meeting it's called. But the silence is everything, especially for someone like me who has ADHD and is a high energy person who, if I'm around the right energy, I'm always like this. Like you would think I had coffee and I didn't. And it's not because of like I don't know what I'm talking about. It's not because of that. It's literally because I'm in such a great space. I'm so excited about life and so excited about who I'm talking to that I just can't stop myself. but that's the one place if you want to find me quiet is in the meeting house and meditation. You'll find me quiet. So
It's good you found it.
I'm glad I found it too. My brain's like, thank you very much, because you need that, especially when we're living in busy cities and all we see is and listen to is people and cars and traffic and noise. And you need to listen to the birds sometimes, listen to the wind blow of the leaves. That just those little subtle things can really bring you inside to yourself and make you reflect. And is it
Exactly.
in that
It's like
reflection?
an oasis. Yeah.
Yes. In that
Yeah.
reflection is where we find our God, in my opinion. So thank you. What do you think um so if someone's not used to meditating, what would be the first thing that you could give them to just start or try, you know? Sit in silence or I don't know, turn off the TV and I don't know, what would be the first thing? Because there's people who really have no idea about this.
No, then it's just what you mentioned. It's good to take walks in nature. It's good to have times when you just commune with nature because nature can bring you closer to yourself. Because just as you said, when you were walking in the woods and then you were listening to the birds and you were looking at the sky and you were looking at the sunrise and you were looking at the lake and you were looking at the trees and the flowers, it gives you an idea of that inner beauty of life, the inner beauty which is reflected in the divine intelligence, which is exemplified in all the different aspects of nature. So you can just go for that a walk in a beautiful place or by a lake or by a river. I go for a walk in the park every morning about 6:30. And
Mm,
it just starts my day off and I just commune with nature. And luckily in my neighborhood there are many parks where you can just they just have many pathways in nature where you can just walk. There are no cars. And
mm,
I just feel that that's so important to commune with nature because your inner nature is a reflection of nature. You're really we are made in the image of God. And we
yeah.
have that whole galaxy, everything within us on a miniature form. So we
Mm,
just want to commune with that level of silence, you know, within ourselves.
mm,
And that level of silence is sometimes very easy to find exhibited in nature when we're in a quiet park or walking by a lake or in the mountains.
yes.
Then we
Yes.
can commune with that inner silence, which is expressed in outer beauty in the
Yes.
universe.
Yes, you can appreciate more as well. I found myself appreciating the littlest things. My friends think I'm crazy. I saw, I think it's called a magpie here, the magpie, the black. It's a
Yeah,
baby crow. I think that's what they said. It's relation to a crow. I didn't know that. I had no idea because that's white out. But that's what they say. It's my favorite bird. Someone doesn't agree with me, but I was like, I love this bird. And so I'll see them in the trees and I hear them talk amongst each other. And I literally stop when I'm walking and say, wait a minute. And my grandson say, what, Mima? He calls me grandma. And I was like, I hear a magpie. And he's like, you hear it? And I was like, just listen. And he'll listen. I taught him yoga at 2 years old because I was like, he was
great.
doing it already. So why not just tell him what he's doing, right? They do downward dog all the time, kids. They do all the poses I can think of. Babies do it. It's just they don't know what it's called. So he loves it. He loves it. And I said that's because children are already born into spiritual beings. We just take them away from it as they grow older without meaning to. But we no, don't do this. No, don't do that. No, that's all they hear, instead of like, okay, well, what do you think of this? Or instead of encouraging them or guiding them to their own light, I think society pushes them away from it. So when we become adults, now we got to find it again. So it's quite odd. It's quite odd. But if you hang out with little kids long enough, and just watch them, they have the light. I think they already have it, especially 2 year olds, 1 year olds, baby. They have it. It's just we don't know what to call that. They don't know what that is, but they have it because
Yeah,
they're all pure
we
love.
should, right, right. We should be careful not to indoctrinate them into giving them mobile phones when they're very young,
Yeah,
because
definitely not.
I've seen children just stuck to the mobile phone even when they're young. It's
Yes.
terrible.
Yes, because parents they're using it as a babysitter. Here, take this while I'm
Yes,
driving, or
I
take this.
know.
Yeah, it's a bad thing. Even television, my kids weren't allowed to watch TV till they were 5. And someone said, "Why 5?" I said, "Because by 5, they can understand why they're watching, and they tell me why they need to watch a show. If they can't tell me why, they don't need to watch it. Because you need to, what I'm saying? You have to understand you're being programmed. And if you understand that, then it's okay because, okay, you want junk? Go ahead, put junk in. But at least know why you're doing it. But 4-year-old doesn't know why they're watching. I won't say a show because I don't want to badmouth the show. Why they're watching a cartoon. They don't know why. And a parent, out of convenience, puts them in front of the television thinking this will be the learning source for me because I'm stressed out. Instead of thinking like, no, because now their brain's going to be wired to this electrical programming, and then they don't know how to sit down. I used to have my kids sit down. I'm going to write a 30-page paper while I was in NYU. You're writing a 5-page paper. And they're like, but I'm only 5. Okay. A year for each page for each year, right? Because that inspires their
I
creativity,
know.
their
I know.
naturalness, not this
Yeah. Yeah.
program computer stuff. So I think we're born with spirituality. We just move farther away from it as we step into society, depending on who our parents are. You know.
Yeah, we have to be very careful about what we expose our children to. We really
Yes.
shouldn't expose them to a lot of television, has so much violence in it and so
Yes.
many things which actually would pollute a child's young mind. The
Yes.
parents have to be much more careful about what they expose their children to. It's very
Yes.
important because it creates the cells, it creates the connections in the physiology, and the children are actually ingesting toxins from the environment. So we want
Yes.
to keep our children pure by really curtailing what they can watch and what they're exposed to, so that
Yes.
they don't get a lot of stress on the way to adulthood.
Yes, and which most of us get unintentionally, I'm sure. I don't think any parent sets out to say, "I'm just going to get my kid full of his stress." But unfortunately, we are a product of our past, and if our past wasn't healed and corrected and found out about and processed, then we just keep passing it on and on and on and on, and that's why we have all these billions of people who still trying to find it, and it is right in themselves, but they have no idea. And that's why we had you here today, because we're hoping that people will see that the gift is in you. The spirituality is already there. You just have to awaken it. That's
That's right.
it. But I thank you so much. And we can get your book. You said on the website, correct?
You can get my book on Amazon or at Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
And yeah, you can
Okay.
order it from Amazon or Barnes and Noble. And please do read the book. I poured my soul into it. And I think most people who have read it have really enjoyed it, both men and women. And from many different countries, I've received reviews from many different countries. And even
Yeah.
somebody from Africa wrote me one of the best reviews. I'll just read a little of it.
Yes.
He said,
Please.
pilgrimage on the path of love is a portal to an artfully detailed world of beauty, love, and awareness. I call
Mm,
it a portal because it felt like I stepped into one from the moment I picked up the book. And then
mm,
at the end, he said, he's Barbara Ann Briggs, writes for free spirits, adventure enthusiasts, and wisdom and spiritual depth seekers. The audience is encouraged to love and embrace others, regardless of their religious beliefs. And this core message is key to achieving world peace. I
mm.
recommend it to the world. So that
Mm.
was my reviewer from
Oh,
Africa,
wow.
actually.
Yeah, I saw all your reviews and they were amazing. They were that's what made me want to read it even more because
Oh, great.
the reviews made me say, "Wait, wow. Wait, what?" Reviews are very important, I think, because
Yes, exactly.
yeah, they really do can leer someone toward whatever it is you've written because it gives you if they got that idea of it, then imagine if you read the whole thing. So
Yeah.
I saw some pages that I was like, wow, I have to read this book because it sounds like the journey we all take, maybe just in a different location, but it's the journey that we all would like to take. I know that. The finding out who we really are and our spiritual selves and our higher calling, that is a journey I think everyone should be called to a pilgrimage at some point in their life. If
Yes,
they want,
life is a pilgrimage. Yes, life as a whole is a pilgrimage,
it is, but many
whether we
don't get
know it
there.
or not.
Yeah, but many
Yeah.
don't get there. They don't get that one trip. Like my first trip to Paris is what made me open my eyes as a human being and see the world as beautiful instead of seeing myself as a victim. I was a foster kid. Long story short, I was an orphan, foster kid, you name it, abused, whatever. So you go through this period where you're like, oh, me, me, me. I mean, I never had pity parties, but internally you internalize that stuff, and even though I did therapy, you still internalize it sometimes, kind of quonky, I'll call it. But when I went to Paris, is the first time, as a young person that I was like, oh my gosh, wait. And then in the 80s in Paris was fabulous, especially for African American models. That was the time. So to me to leave this place that I had been abused in and told I was ugly, stupid, and worthless, to go to Paris and be seen as this beautiful goddess, even if it's not true, right? But to be seen this way, you know how it was back then in the 80s, right? To be seen this way was a miracle worker on the brain. I'm telling you, it just did so much for my human soul that made me start now. Oh my God, look at Trocadero. Look at the Tower de Eiffel. Oh my gosh, can you imagine the Tuileries Gardens? Look at the beautiful flowers. I mean, I was able to see every little thing that was just magnificent. Things that other people say, well, it's just a garden. And I'm like, no, you have to understand. This is a work of art. Like, I can like
Yeah,
detail
yeah.
everything because my soul was awakened, literally. And the people that I met were like little angels, like just random people. I could be a stranger on the sidewalk that would say something. I was like, oh wow. And now my brain's off again. That everybody should take a trip somewhere that gives them that awakening.
Yeah,
Everybody.
no one knows where that's going to happen, but one could be open to it. One
Yes.
should be open to it.
Yes, that's all. It could be Washington D.C. I mean, just as long as you get out of your regular self, I believe it can happen. Literally, it could even probably happen where you're at, actually. But the awakening for me was because I removed myself from my normal circumstance and everyday circumstance of 20 something years
Yeah,
or 18 at that point, 19, whatever years, to some place that was totally, totally opposite. That made me say, oh, wow, I've been missing all of this. Thank you. Oh, thank you, universe. Thank you, God. Thank you for all of this. And now I can go back home and say, wow, I am in a fantastic place, even with whatever past I had.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah. You become more, yeah, you
Yeah.
become more resilient.
Yes, it's amazing. So I suggest to all of my viewers, if you get a chance, even if you just go 10 miles away, go somewhere and open your heart and your eyes and your spiritual self. Because once you do that, man, you really start living. That's what I say. You start really live right now.
Yeah,
Before that, I don't even know if I was really living. I was just existing, but now
yeah,
I'm like, wow. And I mean, even with, I had $250 to my name when I went. Well, now in the 80s, that would be like 800 francs. So that's not so bad, right? But I was $250. It's nothing, right? But do you know I went back home with $250 with that same money? I didn't spend any of it because that's how many angels I encountered my experience, my first experience. It was just amazing. So if anything else in spirituality, I'd say travel the world if you can, but if you can't, go local, go wherever you can. Just go outside of yourself and your usual. That's it.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good idea. I think
yeah,
that's good. Good
yeah,
advice.
yeah. And keep your soul open because there's so much out here for us. We are here to to experience this beautiful life and beautiful people that we encounter on our journey. And many of us are just letting it pass right by us, you know.
Yeah, keep your heart open all the time. Always keep the heart open.
Yeah.
Never forget to believe in yourself and trust the universe to give you what you really need at the right time. My
Mm,
mother always used to say to me, everything that happens for the best. So
mm,
don't doubt, don't have fear, and don't have inner conflicts or afflictions of the mind. Just
mm.
believe in the goodness of the universe. And when you
Right.
believe in the goodness of the universe, you'll invite it to come to you.
Mm.
Don't
Wow.
fight it. Let it
Wow.
in.
Let it in. That's it. That's it. That's the word. Don't fight it. Because I think we unintentionally fight it and we don't even know we're doing it. I know I did. I certainly didn't. I had no clue until who did I meet first? Was it a yogi or was it somebody I used to watch the Hare Krishnas, but I didn't understand them at the time when I was a young, like 18, 19. I didn't understand them, but I would watch them and say, these people always look happy. What's up with these people? And they're always feeding somebody, you know? So I got that, but it would be years later before I got the other part, the internal, which was why they were feeding other people because they were so happy with themselves that they wanted to help other people. You know? It's like it's you just the things that we learn as we get older. And now at 60, I'm like, whoa, this is a whole new chapter. I'm happy. I'm very happy about this. So thank you for being with us. And any last advice you can give our viewers before we go?
No, just be happy. Enjoy your life.
Hmm. Yeah.
Remember, everything is happening by the divine will,
Mm,
and trust the universe to take care of you.
mm,
Just keep your heart open and be
mm.
happy.
Yes. And that's what I forgot to ask about manifesting. It is in that finding yourself and your spiritual self that you're able to manifest the positive things, right?
Yeah, you have to believe it first. Believe
Mm,
it can happen, and it can happen. Whatever you envision can
mm,
manifest as long as you believe in it yourself. Don't
mm,
doubt it. Don't doubt the goodness of the universe. It's all
mm,
there for you.
mm. Wow. All there for you guys. And make sure you go out if you get a chance, go to Barnes and Noble or Amazon and get the book Pilgrimage on the Path of Love by Barbara Briggs. And we thank you so much. Barbara, hang out with us for 1 second as we say goodbye to everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate you. I can't see you on YouTube, but thank you, whoever you are out there joining us. And again, share, of course, like and subscribe to our channels. We appreciate you. And we'll see you on Sunday. All right. Hang out with us.